life and death, resurrection, heaven and hell, being reunited in the afterlife. And that is why, point number 3, Iman teaches you. Iman teaches you to come to terms with that tragedy, to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to take on a level of dignified patience, sabrun jameel. All of this I'll put in point number 3. So we can say, Iman tells you to react by connecting with Allah and by demonstrating sabrun jameel. That's a summary of point number 3. Now what is sabrun jameel? What is sabrun jameel? Sabrun jameel is to control your hand and your tongue, to act in a manner that is within the Sharia. That's what sabrun jameel is. It's very simple. Sabrun jameel, you control what you say and you control what you do. If you say things that are inappropriate, you have gone against sabrun jameel. If you act in a manner that is undignified. Now back in the day, and this is still in some cultures, people would wail, would hit themselves. They would show things that were un-Islamic, like they might tear their shirts apart and they'll say phrases that are phrases of kufr. For example, if a loved one dies, they would say, how can we live after you die? Who shall take care of us? Who is going to protect us? And you understand this is a type of kufr. What do you mean, who's going to protect you? You think this person gave you rizq? Allah is Razzaq. The one who protected you when your father, your husband was alive is going to protect you when he's gone. Allah is the Razzaq. Allah is the Mawla. So to say phrases that go against our iman is to go against sabr. Sabr is the absence of acting foolishly. You control acting foolishly. You control saying foolish things. So sabr is not action, it is to control action. Sabr is to keep a check on yourself and to make sure your limbs and your tongues act in a manner that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Notice, sabr has nothing to do with feeling sad. Sabr has nothing to do with crying and sobbing. Sabr has nothing to do with feeling hurt and anxious and grief. Sabr has to do with the outer appearance of dignity. We don't beat ourselves. We don't pull our hair. We don't tear our clothes, as some cultures, by the way, still do. Some cultures still do this, unfortunately. We don't wail out loud. They had something called wailing. What is wailing? Again, I explained to you. Is to say phrases that were meant to indicate grief at what has happened, but they end up, astaghfirullah, rejecting iman in Allah. We can't live without you. This should never be said. A common equivalent in our Western culture, listen to me carefully, sisters and brothers, because saying this is wrong. It is a type of kufr. A type of kufr. To say, it's not fair, why is this happening to me? A'udhu billah. A'udhu billah. Do you understand the implications of saying it's not fair? Who are you accusing of being unfair? Do you understand? How can you say it's not fair? Who are you to judge? Who are you to demand anything? You are a makhluq abd. You are a created entity. And whatever blessing you have is from Allah. And whatever you don't have is for wisdom from Allah. You accept your Lord's decree. You can be sad at it. Acceptance doesn't mean you're going to be happy. What did our Prophet ﷺ say when Ibrahim died? Our hearts are sad. Our eyes are crying. But the tongue shall only say what pleases our Lord. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. You see, sabr is an internal battle. You have to force yourself to act positively, say positively, and think positively. It is an internal jihad. Really, it's an internal jihad. That's what sabr is. And that sabr, nobody can teach you. You can't take classes on sabr. You have to learn yourself. And this is one of the wisdoms of tests and trials, because as you undergo one trial, you are trained in sabr. And then another trial, you're trained in sabr again and again and again and again. But then you ask me, but then how do I get sabr? How do I get sabr? Listen to this. I'm going to teach you, inshallah, one of the most useful halal hacks in your life, okay? I wish everybody knew this. It's not something coming from me, straight from the tongue of our Prophet ﷺ, but unfortunately people don't know, they don't read hadith, they don't know these things. I'm going to teach you one of the most important halal cheat codes. It's totally halal. It's a halal hack. It's completely legit. And it is amazing. And if you understand this point, your heart should jump for joy. You should feel a sense of such elatedness, such happiness that our Lord is so generous. Our Prophet ﷺ said in a much longer hadith, the phrase that we're interested in is, وَمَنْ يَتَصَبَّرْ يُصَبِّرْهُ اللَّهُ. وَمَنْ يَتَصَبَّرْ يُصَبِّرْهُ اللَّهُ. Whoever desires to be patient shall be granted patience by Allah. I want you to absorb what the Prophet just said, what you heard me say the Prophet say. Whoever desires patience shall be granted patience by Allah. How does one gain patience? By wanting it.